Time now to check out BMW's all-new R1150GS Adventure. Building on the already popular R1150GS platform, how popular? Well, the GS is the #1 selling BMW motorcycle in Germany. And what you see before you was introduced earlier this year as a sort of GS on steroids, a real man's motorcycle. Speaking of muscle, the Adventure is powered by the same wonderful 2-cylinder 4-stroke fuel-injected boxer as its baby bro. However, it's got a lower 6th gear for more torque, less overdrive, while fuel mapping has been altered to allow the use of regular petrol. Speaking of gas, the Adventure tank holds a whopping 30 liters. Suspension travel also gets a boost, while the new version Evo brakes shed weight. And there's heated grips, hand protectors, engine guards, one-piece seat, and more aggressive tires. It all adds up to, well, more. And translated, that means hopefully more adventure. Recently, I was able to sample the Adventure while riding up California's Pacific Coast, both with the optional aluminum saddle cases and top box, and without. Along for this ride was my close friend and motorcycle journalist, Colin Fraser. Well, Colin, we pulled it off a goat trail somewhere north of Los Angeles, and if you're ever going to hit a trail like this perhaps is the bike to have.
There aren't very many big displacement sporty motorcycles that you can ride up a bumpy, rutted, washed out road, and this definitely is one of the very few of them. Now, I know BMW referred to it as an enduro model. I wouldn't see taking it on an enduro, but it's the flexibility that's always made the GS line superb. And certainly a lot of journalists, including myself, love this and Triumph's Tiger, which is pretty much the only other motorcycle in the class. And both those bikes have really great distinctive motors. This, the traditional oil-cooled flat twin, and Triumph, their triple.
Well, GS is the #1 selling BMW in Germany. It's very popular there. They've now decided to go one step further with the Adventure. Just take us very quickly through the shopping list, the things we get with the Adventure.
Well, the Adventure is kind of like a GS on steroids. You know, they've looked at some of the most distinctive features and just amplified them. Probably the most distinctive thing on this motorcycle for someone who's into GSs is this gas tank, which is much bigger. And when you get off the beaten track, not just on dirt roads, but just the idea of not being tied down to when you're going to have to get fuel, probably 300 miles, over 500 clicks before you have to worry, and a bigger reserve too, so the light comes on probably 50 or 60 miles before you have to fuel up.
Well, if you want to get a perspective on just how big this tank is, you need to stand back here. It's a 747.
Well, the tank's wide, of course, the cylinder head's wider. These guards are just slightly wider than any other part of the bike, so it's pretty easy to judge the size of the motorcycle. The mirrors work quite well. They're traditional little round ones, but because of the high bars, you can see behind you quite well. Very flexible motorcycle, surprisingly fun to ride on a back road. The old GS is a bike that could give guys on hardcore sports bikes fits. Really capable because the power plant, very flexible, great fuel injection, and a surprising amount of power. I mean, at 80 miles an hour on the highway, this thing's just loafing.
Now, with the GS Adventure, the other option is you get to spend a little extra cash and get these babies. What do you think?
These are optional hard cases, and although they don't come with the bike standard, this will be a big sales feature, just like that big fuel tank. And the reason is, of course, that a lot of people who want this kind of bike have hobbies that take them off the beaten path, and they like to combine the hobby with their motorcycles. I could certainly see getting a lot of use out of this with my cameras. If you go fishing, all kinds of different activities. And before, you'd have to spend a lot of money and build your own system to fit all of this. And BMW are not famous by accident for the quality of their luggage, and it'll be really nice to be able to go with this system. And I think a lot of owners will be swayed by the ability to bolt these things right on.
Well, we know it's the #1 selling bike in Germany. How do you think it's going to do in Canada?
I think you're going to see some new people attracted. In general, BMW say they can't get enough GSs, and it's a bike that really has registered on apparently people about like me, people my age, my line of work, my experience riding. And it's maybe not the prettiest bike. It's become kind of pretty in a weird Harold kind of way. We're all used to it now, but it's really distinctive. It's a really nice bike to ride around town. Partly because of the torquey engine, partly because of the riding position. You're up and you can really see around. It's good for touring, and I think somebody said last night, the idea of this motorcycle is you just go, right? You throw some stuff in there, you're not even sure, maybe even spur of the moment, I just want to get on my bike and go. And it's not going to restrict you at all in terms of where you're going to go, what you're going to do, and again, you get this kind of carrying capacity. It doesn't even restrict you very much on what you're going to take with you.
Well, Colin, if this bike is built for you, then I suggest maybe you take both of these bikes down the road and I'll meet you. I'll just hike down, okay? Anyway, thanks for joining me up here in the middle of nowhere.
Thanks, Dave. It was fun.